Hello, good people of YouTube. Mountbatten here, and today we are taking a look at one of the most legendary ships in World of Warships, and that is the Tier 7 Premium British Battleship, HMS Hood. So, Hood began life, well, for those of you that don't know, and I imagine most of you watching this channel do know, but for those of you that don't, we will take a little brief dive into Hood's history. Hood was ordered during the First World War. She was being built when the Battle of Jutland was underway, and if you're familiar with the Battle of Jutland, you know that the British battlecruisers didn't do so well in that battle. Now, the lessons learned during that battle were quickly taken into consideration during Hood's construction, and basically what this boiled down to, and again this is paraphrasing here, is that the armor on the ship had to be thickened by quite some amount. And that is one reason why, as you can tell from her in-game model, she sits very, very, very low in the waterline. And in real life, she was quite the wet ship, as water from the sea would often find its way onto its deck, even during not-so-rough conditions. So, she wasn't completed in time for the Second World War. She was launched in 1920, and she didn't really see much action at all because, well, she missed World War I. But she did see a little bit of action during World War II, which is where her fame really comes in. Now, in between the wars, it's important to note that the Hood became a symbol of pride for the UK. And when the Bismarck was launched in 1941 and was sent out to raid convoys, the British sent the Hood and the Prince of Wales to intercept the Bismarck and the Prince Eugen. And they met in battle in the Battle of the Denmark Strait, and unfortunately for Hood, one of Bismarck's 15-inch shells found its way through Hood's armor and detonated one of her magazines, which caused the ship to, well, explode, of course, and the ship sunk in under 3 minutes. So that's her claim to fame, being lost quite quickly in the battle against the Bismarck. And also, of course, being one of the main reasons that the British hunted the Bismarck so hard. You don't really get away with destroying the pride of the Royal Navy without absolutely getting your face kicked in by the rest of the Royal Navy. If you're interested, I actually did a cinematic video on that whole hunt for the Bismarck, and looks like we may be doing a bit of a remake of that with modern World of Warships graphics and such. But anyway, the Hood in game. So in game, Hood is, well, something alright. She started out life quite different from where she is right now. She actually came out a few months after I started to play World of Warships. And this is, of course, way before I was even thinking about doing a YouTube channel. But I didn't pick her up right away, of course. I picked her up, I think probably 2 or 3 months after she came out. And back then, the ship had what we would consider to be normal British BB-AP. She had that short fuse AP. Now, this is, of course, quite some time before the British battleship line was actually implemented into the game. So it was a bit of an oddball, especially considering that the Warspite had pretty darn good AP. It could slap quite hard. It had the normal AP fuse time. So she had that, but she also had quite the gimmick, and a little strange gimmick too, considering what the ship was. So she has DFAA, but her DFAA is quite more efficient than the run-of-the-mill DFAA. It increases the damage from the shell explosions by 300%. That's quite the buff. Now that's what the modern DFAA does. I believe back in the day, DFAA worked a little bit different, but it was still around like a 300% overall damage increase to your AA. And keep in mind too, this is of course way before the CV rework. So this is back when losing planes was a big deal for CVs. I mean, it's still a pretty big deal today, but you couldn't recover it back in the day. So this ship was your answer to being bugged by CVs. If you didn't want a CV to go near you, you took out the Hood. And I ran the Hood through a gauntlet back when we could have like 12 CVs in training battles. And she did very, very well for a Tier 7 ship when her DFAA was active. It's quite the sight to see. And even in the match watching right now, I luckily enough got into a double CV match. So you will see that AA going to town here in this match. But we'll talk more about how that's still effective or not effective here in a moment. So let's go over the ship's stats real quick. I'll throw up a screenshot of her armor scheme for you guys. She has a 26mm bow, so that can be overmatched by 14-inch guns. She does, however, have this nice 127mm, 152mm plating that does wrap up roughly about halfway up her bow. Her main belt is 178mm of armor. Upper belt is 127mm of armor. She does have a little stern plating that is 152mm thick. Stern still 26. Stern deck is 26. Mid deck is 26. Main deck is 51mm of armor, which is quite good actually, especially for a tier 7 ship. Turret face is 381 and turret size are 280, and her citadel is right at the water height. It's not the most difficult ship to citadel in the world, especially if it's caught by plunging fire. She has 67,700 hit points. That is a lot of hit points for a tier 5, for a tier 7 battleship. In comparison, something like the Aniza, which is one of my other favorite tier 7 battleships, only has 58,000 hit points. And that's the Aniza. That thing's freaking armored to the teeth on its midsection. Its bow, not so much. But this is reflecting what I was saying in the intro, where they just had to keep bolting so much armor on this ship because of what happened at Jutland with the Royal Navy's Battlecruisers. Her AA, she gets what's supposed to be her gimmick, Rocket AA. She gets 5 of these. You can see them posted around the ship. And these didn't work at all in real life. But of course, it's World of Warships, so they can work in this game. And this is what's supposed to be activating when you pop your DFAA. Now, what's interesting too is that the Issei, the Tier 6 premium Japanese hybrid ship, has these as well. And she has quite good AA, but she doesn't have DFAA. Alright, in terms of maneuverability, she cruises around at 33.6 knots, which is pretty fast for Tier 7. Now, this is with the speed flag on. It has a turning circle radius of 910 meters and a 13.4 second rudder shift time. Concealment is 14.1 with the commander's skill on as well, and I am using the build that I showed you guys on screen. So, all in all, the ship itself, the hull, feels really good. She's tanky, not really because of her armor, but because of just the sheer amount of hit points that you have in this ship. She's really very much a damage sponge, meaning that she does absorb the damage, but she absorbs it into her HP pool. Not like the Soviet battleships that are just damage shields because they bounce it off of their armor. She's very chunky. Now, her guns are very nice. She has 8 15-inch guns with a 30-second reload time. Now, like I said originally back in the day, she had that short fuse British BB AP. They changed that a little while ago. She received just a couple of tweaks. She received normal BB AP pins, and then her Sigma got bumped up to 1.9, which is very good at Tier 7. So now we have normal BB AP and a 1.9 Sigma, 30-second reload time on 8 guns though. Not the worst though. I mean, 8 15-inch guns at Tier 7, that's quite a lot of firepower. There's quite a few battleships that you can meet at your tier that you can just punch right through their nose, and the Sigma boost makes the guns a lot more accurate. Back in the day, oh my god, the ship had a lot of historical value for me when I picked it up, but she was a little aggravating to play because of that short fuse AP, because you would have to hit, when you're fighting other battleships, you would have to hit their upper belt armor to really get decent damage, and you couldn't citadel them because of that fuse time. And the guns weren't as accurate back then. Again, they raised the Sigma to 1.9. So you really couldn't get those consistent, accurate shots that you needed to get good damage in the hood versus other battleships. But now, since they tweaked it like that, I think this happened, I think 2 years ago maybe? I don't know exactly. I think it was 2018, 2019 when these buffs happened to Hood. And now she's quite good against other battleships with her 8 15-inch guns. Again, 15-inch guns at Tier 7. So you can now easily just chunk other battleships and such, but against cruisers now she gets more overpins. That was the upside of those short fuse AP shells. You wouldn't overpin cruisers nearly as much. You do nowadays, but if you know where to aim, the guns are definitely accurate enough now to where if you're running into a cruiser that you know the armor layout of, you just aim for the Citadel, and there's a pretty good chance you're going to get favorable dispersion to where you hit the Citadel and do large amounts of damage to them. So the guns are really, really good nowadays, and I do find it funny that the British BB stigma does follow the hood around. I've played the ship on stream a couple of times, and there have been several cases of viewers being very confused as to why I'm shooting so much AP. Well, it's because the AP on hood's freaking good, especially with 15-inch guns at tier 7. The HE isn't terrible either. 34% chance of starting a fire on guns that are fairly accurate for tier 7. Sure, and you do need that because the ship can get up tier to tier 9, and 15-inch guns at tier 9, 8 of them at tier 9, oh no, with a 30-second reload, The quick reload of like the Bismarck and Tirpitz save it there because they have 8 15-inch guns too, but they have a much quicker reload than the hood. So the HE is pretty decent. Again, 34% chance starting a fire with pretty decently accurate guns. So the hood can hang in there at tier 9, but I mean, with its armor layout and how chunky it is, those large guns at tier 9 just tear this ship a new one. But when you're in a tier 8 or tier 7 game, especially when you're top tier, you know, seeing freaking tier 5 ships in the hood, yeah, it's quite the fun boat then. So it's gimmick, it's DFAA, it's Rocket AA. How does that hold up nowadays? So I'm not sure quite what part of the match that you're at right now, but this is a double CV match. There's a Chikhalov and a Ranger. And you can see there's a couple instances where they come in, I pop my DFAA, and this is the thing with CVs now versus back in the day. With the RTS CVs, you couldn't just attack and then recall your planes as fast as you can nowadays. So the planes would have to attack your ship and they'd loiter around for a few seconds just because of the nature of the RTS gameplay, and then they would try to return back to the carrier. The hood would easily swat tier 9 planes away. Easy peasy lemon squeezy with its DFAA being active. But as you can see in this match, doesn't really happen as much. First off, the range of the AA got decreased quite a bit from the CV rework. I believe Old Hood's AA could get out to almost 7 kilometers. I think it was like 6.5 or 6.8, something like that. If you built into it, I can't remember exactly, but nowadays it's at 5.8, which isn't long range, isn't short range. It's just kind of middle of the road. But most good CV players, they can obviously tell when you pop that DFAA because, I mean, shoot, look at what happens when I do in the match. There's quite a few visual clues that DFAA has been popped on the hood. First off, just the insane amount of flak being put up, of course. So a lot of times good CV players will simply recall. And like with the Soviet CVs, 5.8 kilometers, that's just a little bit more than the range at which they can drop their payload at the maximum, as you'll see the Chikhalov do here. Now, granted, you're in the hood, so when you see them do that, you're in a pretty maneuverable ship, so you can easily maneuver out of the way of their ordnance. But unfortunately, now you've popped DFAA, and you either got to wait for it to run off cooldown, turn your AA off to get it off cooldown a lot faster. And by then, and the situation that I'm in right here, where I'm in fact pushing the two CVs on this flank with the hood and a handful of other ships, you know, they're going to be back in no time, so now your DFA is going to be down. And without DFAA, the AA rating on the hood's only 58. Yeah, it's got pretty mediocre AA when that DFAA isn't up. I mean, you can't really blame the devs for doing that because with a 300% boost to your AA, yeah, you can't really give it good AA because it's going to be an impenetrable wall, literally a flak, if it had anything near like 70 AA without the DFAA on. So it's understandable, but I mean, it still does work better than other DFAAs from my experience, of course, even at tier 7, except for like maybe a full AA build Atlanta, of course, and of course there's been several changes to the commander skills as well. So overall, Hood today, her gimmick's kind of not that great, but the buff she got quite some time ago still make this ship a very fun ship to play, and again, one of the most legendary ships that are in the game, and a very historical ship at that too. Plus, the modeling's freaking beautiful. I mean, the design of the hood and of the Admiral class is absolutely one of the most beautiful designs that I've seen come out of the Royal Navy, and this is a ship that I very much want to get my hands on a high quality model of to make down the road, of course, too. It's a very, very, very beautiful ship. Is it worth picking up today? If you like battle cruisers, and if you're anticipating a British battlecruiser line, I'd put money down that there would be an Admiral class battlecruiser in the line. And it probably would have some pretty similar features to Hood in terms of the armor layout, of course, and probably its stats too. So it might be a good idea to maybe proactively pick one up to be a potential Royal Navy battlecruiser commander trainer. Plus, with what you're going to be building into on the Hood, you're probably going to be building into your British battleship commander. So it could be a good British battleship commander trainer as well. But with the way that CVs are now and that tier 7 matchmaking is now, you're going to be in tier 9 games a lot, it's probably not worth it at full price. Now, if it goes on sale, or if you get it in a super container or a random container, yeah, I'd say it's a good pool. And, I mean, if you're okay with understanding that this is a very good ship when you're mid-tier or top-tier, but when this gets up to tier 9, it falls off hard, and you understand that, I say you could pick it up as well. But for the average player that just wants a good premium that isn't going to be screwed over by matchmaking, probably not, in my honest opinion. But that's up for you guys to make that decision. Let me know what you guys think about the Hood in the comments down below. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, make sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel. We're going up to 30,000 subscribers, just past 29,100 a few days ago, and I cannot thank you guys enough for that. Hope you're all having a wonderful Thursday, actually. Hope to catch you guys in the next one.